think it's really important to talk about people that are idolized, false prophets, false idols. Billie Eilish, and this is on the screen right now for everyone watching on YouTube and Spotify. Billie Eilish actually shared a clip that we're going to link to, and she had said she got exposed to pornography when she was 11 years old. And she said that it really hurt her on such a deep level because when she was exposed to it, she knew that it hurt her brain. And here she is, a
Mm.
very, popularized singer. I think many people have heard of Billie Eilish, but the fact that she has the courage to share publicly about
Yeah,
how pornography had wounded her and how she's taken so much of her life to actually heal herself from pornography is so very special. And it's what exactly the world needs right now. I want to flip that to you, going back to current events. And if you could take us through a play by play, just, paint a story for us here. How did you desexualize your brain from pornography? And what transformation has happened because of that?
man. We're getting to some neuroscience. This is my favorite subject when it comes to recovery. Pornography has four primary effects on the brain. The first is desensitization. So, desensitization is what you watch or what you're used to watching doesn't give you the hit. So, you need to watch more of it, you need to watch it more intensely, or you need to watch something new. Um, the second effect is sensitization, which is the exact opposite. And this is where your brain starts to, you see something that would be seemingly innocent, but for you, it becomes a trigger because your brain is craving it. And so it's looking for things that maybe remind you of scenes you've watched or whatever. The third is a poor stress response. So this is very prevalent. We see this a lot in our clients. They have low capacity for emotional stress, physical stress, whatever it is. They just don't have the wherewithal. And the fourth is a thing called hypofrontality, where the prefrontal cortex makes all your executive decisions, allows you to look long term. And when you have hypofrontality, this part of your brain literally just like it becomes less active. And it can start to rewire and reshuffle the priorities within your brain. So when you have someone like Billie Eilish who's talking about early exposure, the first thing we need to understand is that when a minor gets exposed to pornography and their brain is not fully developed, that dependency becomes very high because their sexual development basically goes in synchrony with pornography. And as we stated earlier, what porn provides to the brain is what they call a supernormal stimulus. In other words, the level of stimulation it provides is unnaturally high. There's nothing else you could experience that would even match up to it, which is why today, I don't know if you've ever heard this stat before, Josh, about 30% of men under the age of 40 are dealing with erectile dysfunction. And the reason for that, well, there's a couple of reasons, but in my biased opinion, the reason for that is because of pornography, because we're getting exposed at a young age. Porn is rewiring the threshold for what we need to feel arousal, and unfortunately, real life experiences just aren't cutting it. So, if you follow that quote a little bit with Billie Eilish, I believe you're talking about the interview with Howard Stern. And if not, then I think there was another clip as well. But in her interview with
Mhm.
Howard
There's a
Stern,
few, yeah.
there's a few, yeah. In her
Mhm.
interview with Howard Stern, she actually talked about how when she started to be sexually active, she started to do things that she thought were normal because that's what she saw in the pornography she watched. And then she started to realize, like, I don't feel good about myself. That kind of felt weird, like not everything is totally connecting when she's having these experiences. And then after more conversation and more exploring, she's realizing, oh, those were like that's like BDSM. That's like really intense stuff. She just thought it was normal. She
Mhm.
didn't think it was any different. And she thought if I don't provide this, then it's not a real or a quality sexual experience. So porn wreaks havoc on the brain for all these reasons, especially when there's early exposure. My word, I mean, we could get into study upon study of how early exposure can lead to infertility, greater chances of affairs, more likely to pay for sex, buy sex. Like the list goes on and on. But the whole brain part of it is really kind of the centerpiece as far as I'm concerned. This is where we have to be really careful if we really want to heal and make sure that porn isn't having that effect on us.
Wow. Okay. On the screen right now, there's some really beautiful visuals. So y'all get to subscribe. either on Spotify or on YouTube. And by the way, I don't care if you personally are dealing with this or if somebody you know and care about is dealing with this. The link is on the screen again. I'm going to put this link up there because I believe in this program. I believe in what Sathiya is doing because I have been down this journey myself. Like, I can't press this enough, you guys. JoshTrent.com/porn free. This is so important. It's so important for you guys and gals to be able to take an inventory of self, to get to the bottom of why you feel the way you feel that makes you go to the porn. Because I'm sure you can relate to this. It's not about the orgasm. It's not about the release. It actually has nothing to do with it. I just did a podcast that we're going to link in the show notes as well. And it was a podcast with Dr. John Lawrence, who's been on the show. A very, very powerful, very wonderful healer I get to connect you to. And also Luke Story, another podcast, which I think you'd be incredible on. And
Oh.
we talked about this olfactory sense where real sexual expression, real sexual connection in a loving, sacred container, whether it be marriage, long-term relationship, someone that you really love and care about, that you're willing to explore this with, which has been so bastardized and so homogenized by the hooks of media that
Mm.
over-sexualizes everything that we're experiencing, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Meta, online, Google. I mean, you can't even go out of your house without
Yeah.
seeing some sexual objectification of women and men on
Yeah.
billboards, on screens. It's so wild that we accept this is okay now.
Yeah.
If this was around the type of media that's around 50 years ago, there'd be rioting in the streets, but now we've been slowly conditioned. We have been slowly conditioned, just like when you boil a frog and it kills itself by staying in the water because it doesn't know it's being boiled. Our soul,
Mhm.
our connection to spirit is going through a boiling process right now. I do believe that our soul and our connection to spirit is going through a heating up, a boiling process right now. You and I have left the boiling water a long time ago, but we have so many brothers and sisters. We have so many people that are in the water thinking it's normal
Yeah.
without knowing that they're being cooked alive. And
Yeah.
you know what the prize is, Sathiya? The prize is the soul. The
Mm.
prize is the human soul, and there could not be a more important prize on planet Earth.
The reality is, and you said this earlier, I loved it. The reason that we watch pornography is rarely actually a sexual reason. Almost never.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with sex. It's not about your
Nope.
sexual needs. It's not about any of that. It's actually much more fundamental. And so for us, when we talk about the root issues, we'll try not to be too ethereal here. We've broken it down into three primary buckets. So the first is what we call emotional fitness. So when we're trying to help people, we're trying to help people build emotional fitness. When somebody lacks emotional fitness, it's that numbness. It's that inability to access the inner world, thoughts, feelings, everything that's going on within. And this is sort of like the gateway, because like if you ask somebody like, well, why did you watch pornography? You said you're trying to stop what happened today. A lot of the guys that we work with are like, oh, well, I was stressed or I was bored or, I was horny. I don't know. It just kind of hit me. It's like, no, no, no. There was stuff going on underneath. We need to access it. So
Yeah.
that's the first bucket. The second bucket is what we would call a transformation of the heart. And this is where people are working through traumas. It doesn't mean that you have like a sexual trauma history. Again, like for me, some of my traumas were just parent-child dynamics that existed growing up. And I grew up in a actually relatively stable and healthy home, but no one's perfect. There's always going to be those dynamics. And so when we're talking about transformation of the heart, we're talking about really working through different experiences in life that have ultimately contributed to the decisions you're making now. And then the third thing is shifting your identity. And this is shedding off the old beliefs. I'm so grateful for like an Alcoholics Anonymous or a 12 steps that have kind of paved the way for addiction coaching and addiction recovery.
Yeah.
There are some things I'm not a huge fan of. And I think they're fantastic and they do very good work. But one of their philosophies is, once an addict, always an addict. You introduce
Yes.
yourself, hi, I'm Josh, I'm an addict. We just can't subscribe to that ourselves because we believe so much in the shifting of an identity. Like if you believe you're an addict, then you will continue to stay addicted by faith because you believe that's what
Mhm.
you are. So
Mhm.
we really believe in that. And the way we know somebody has properly gone through it, we have a little saying, which is that you reach a place where you would rather be 100% your true self and rejected than 80% your true self and accepted.
Don't go anywhere. Click the link on the screen. If you love that clip that you just watched, You're gonna absolutely love this full-length video. You just have to tap the little icon on the screen. While you're at it, subscribe.